Hello everyone, this is Australian Motorcycle News. Peter Bom with an update from the Mandalika MotoGP race, and what a race we had today. I can get used to these types of races. Actually, the whole weekend is entertaining, and that has a reason. Let's start with the reason why today we had such a great race in the MotoGP. It's quite a special track. It's a difficult track, and the track conditions has changed a lot over the weekend all the time. And the nature of the track is very, very different from last week, so everybody had to readjust the head completely. Very fast flowing corners, only a couple of hard straight up braking areas, so you need to have a lot of corner speed and fast change of direction of the bike. Super high track temperatures means also that we have a very special rear tire that confuses everybody again. So a track that has a different layout, a very strange rear tire, and a track that was quite green in the beginning of the weekend makes everybody a little bit confused and changes the whole pecking order of the whole weekend what we did. As a result, we have a super interesting winner, a rookie. Fermin Aldeguer wins the MotoGP race, was yesterday almost winning the sprint race as well. Put the bike on the front row. That's actually the most important thing to do in the weekend, have your bike on the front row. Because even if you don't have a really good race pace, if you start from the front row, your race will be fine. That's how it is at the moment in MotoGP. Anyway, Fermin Aldeguer, a really good job already in the practice session, so from the front row. He did nothing special, but just really, really good and no mistakes at all. But remember, he's only 20 years old. This is his first year in MotoGP, so that makes it quite special. It looks pretty simple and normal, but everybody else made lots of mistakes, like riding mistakes or setup mistakes or wrong tire choice, and him and his team. Very stable situation. Yesterday, like I said, he was nearly going to win the sprint race, and today but the reason he also won today is because Marco Bezzecchi, the guy that was supposed to win everything this weekend, made a mess. Actually, he made a mess. So Marco Bezzecchi is super fast on Friday, super fast in qualifying yesterday, winning the sprint in yesterday as well, although it took him until the last 5 corners to do so. Today again, from the pole position, shit start. But the only guy that should not have panicked after a difficult start is Marco Bezzecchi, because he had like a superior race pace. And the race is very, very long. It's not like yesterday's sprint, which he could win from P6, because after a shit start, he went from 6th to 1st. Today he was 6th after a couple of corners. So the only guy that should not have panicked was Bezzecchi. The guy who panicked was Bezzecchi. I think turned 6 or 7, way too early in the first lap already. Tried to overtake Marquez on the inside. Marc Marquez, like more or less the master of the first couple of laps. Didn't go very well, so he took himself out, took Marc out. Marc tumbled at least one time too many in the gravel trap. Quite likely broke his collarbone, is on his way back to Spain to have it x-rayed, but pretty sure that at least the collarbone, maybe more. So that was the chaos that we had in the beginning of the race. Like I said, Fermin Aldeguer starting in the front, made no mistakes, make it look easy. And it's an interesting example of a rider that comes from Moto2. They still have a natural feeling for looking for high corner speed. They have a high speed in the middle of the corner because that's what Moto2 is all about. Guys that come to MotoGP bring that high corner speed, but usually after 1 year or within 1 year they lose a little bit that high corner speed, because that can be scary and difficult and painful in MotoGP, and they start to make more V's. So he is a bit lucky that he's still a rookie, but his team, Franco Cacchetti, his crew chief, the people around him, create a very stable situation. He just tells his feeling, they make the right decisions and tell him, yeah, it feels wrong, but this is the track, we don't need to do anything else, get used to it. And yeah, he has a really, really good talent. Only 20 years old, so interesting to see. The other interesting thing from my list is that Yamaha looked so difficult here. No pace at all, except for Alex Rins, who somehow enjoys this track a lot, but he enjoys weird tracks. Remember, 2 years ago, he won in Austin on a Honda. Nobody wins except Marc Marquez in Austin on a Honda. He did. So, but he managed it only in qualifying. He was in a really good position. But the Yamahas, they eat the tire, so they choose some really weird tire combinations: hard, soft, hard, medium, whatever, to at least look sort of competitive in the first couple of laps. But after halfway the race, the Yamahas really couldn't do anything, which is weird, because this track is all about corner speed. Yamaha is corner speed, but no, the Yamaha eats the tires. The new Yamaha basically is the Aprilia that has super corner speed, but at the same time it stops, it accelerates, and it has a really strong engine. So highlights of the race for me, Well, that's like the down highlight, Pecco Bagnaia. Very, very bad in Misano. 1 week after Misano in Motegi, winning everything, the race, the sprint and the qualifying. 1 week after that, with the same bike comes here, zero. Nothing happens at all. Yesterday, dead last in the sprint, and today, dead last and then crashing. So Pecco is completely lost, and Ducati is lost in how to help Pecco. For sure, it must be also him, because the bike that was winning so well last week in Motegi is definitely, it can be the same bike here on this track, but it needs to be adjusted again, because super high track temperatures, the other layout, the nature of the track is different, and they have this really weird rear tire. But then the other Ducatis all managed to do it better, so it also must be down to Pecco being confused again, and then Ducati don't find a way to help him or calm him or give him something. Really strange to see. It's on my list of highlights, but highlight like a negative highlight to see Pecco immediately coming back to zero. The other highlight for me is Pedro Acosta. He did a really mature ride. He's with the KTM on the second row, had a super good start, whole shot from the second row. All KTMs have brilliant starts. They have the whole mechanism very, very well organized mechanically, because all the KTMs always are like rockets from the start. He knew he didn't have the pace to go with the best guys in front, but he defended well. But while defending, he still kept improving himself, very stable, no mistakes. So yeah, really good fight. No mistakes, make the best of a shitty bike at the moment. And still found again, in the end of the race, he found again some really good lap time by changing his position, the way he was moving with the bike. This is Pedro Acosta, that the very, very special rider that KTM bought. Last year we saw a lot of actions like this that was really good for a rookie. This year you're not longer a rookie, you have to start to perform. Beginning of the year he didn't do that, but now he gets his shit together, and I love seeing him riding, and I can't wait for KTM to give Pedro Acosta a better bike, because it's a joy to see him riding. Same goes a little bit from Brad Binder. From P15 to P4, Binder don't have the extra speed to do something in qualifying, to be on the first 2 rows. But Binder, again, he's a rocket on the start, and he's a big, big fighter. And in the race, especially on the Sunday race, when the lap times are a lot slower because you have to survive, Binder's always there. So love to see him doing that. The downer from today was Bezzecchi, his start and his action. I mean, his start was again shit. Yesterday's start was shit, today the start. But it's not so much the Aprilia, it's him. His first reaction was already quite slow. And then he started to do the whole sequence with the clutch and the throttle in the wrong way, and the bike started to move. And then, but again, the only guy that should not have panicked, Marco Bezzecchi, he panicked. The other Aprilia rider, there's 4 Aprilias normally on the grid, but we have only 2 at the moment. Jorge Martin at home. So anyway, Raúl Fernandez, starting from the front row with an Aprilia, had a super chance to make a great weekend, and he didn't. Yesterday was on the podium. Today on this race, especially with Marc and Marco Bezzecchi are already out of the race, would have been his opportunity. This is his 4th year in MotoGP, and having a super chance in a weekend that your bike, your manufacturer really is a lot better than everybody else, he should have profited more. Yesterday with 3rd place was okay, but today, no, just not good enough. And he's just not riding the Aprilia well enough, but worst, he's not good enough in the fighting. He makes very little actions on other riders try to overtake, but when he does it, they're like completely wrongly timed. And then he destroyed his own chance. He destroyed the chance from the guy that he was trying to overtake, and then 4 or 5 people behind them are overtaking them because the action was so poorly timed. 2 of these actions, 2 times he tried to overtake somebody, 2 times it was a disaster. And the biggest victim of his action was Honda and Luca Marini. Marini, position-wise at the beginning of the race and lap time-wise, was going to finish 2nd, I think. And where does he finish? I don't know, 4, 5, 6, because Raúl fighting with Marini, do the wrong actions at the wrong moment, stopping them and so on and so on. So yeah, disappointing in Raúl. I'm very disappointed for Luca Marini, because that was a really, really good chance he had there. So that was it from today's MotoGP race. We had also the Moto3 where we had Joel Kelso on the front row. He was in the lead group. I have to check my notes. I watched the race, but he crashed out very, very early. He picked up the bike afterwards and come back to P10, and he really was on his ass and had to run to the bike. So again, good in qualifying, good in the first couple of laps, and really good pace, but it's again with Joel, put it all together. It's the type of guy, when you follow him, you expect him, yeah, you can be on the podium this weekend, or you can be on the, but it's not often enough he really delivers, basically. Jacob Hulston, difficult weekend, difficult situation yesterday, but today he, from a shitty qualifying position, went straight to, I see, he was in the top 7 in lap 5 already. That can happen. If you're in Moto3 and you pay attention at the start and you have some aggressive actions in the beginning of the race, then you can win Moto3 races from the last row or the front row, but you have to have like a basic aggression and pace. And he quickly went to the front. Let's see, there were some crashes in the leading group. He was all the time in the leading group. There were some crashes there, and in the end, even a red flag, and he finished 5th. So Jacob Hulston, just when you think it's not going to happen, P5, best career result he did here. Senna Aegis, another interesting Australian rider in the Moto2. 25th position, I explained to you yesterday, very difficult in qualifying. Although the team claimed yesterday they found a lot, he couldn't do it really in qualifying time. But today was very, very spectacular. Starting from 25, he even got a long lap penalty because he was too aggressive with somebody. Then he went up to P11, but finally then he made a mistake and he finished 13th, and somebody else got disqualified, so he finished 12th. It's a poor result, 12, but considering where he came from, it's really, really good. So it's good for his confidence. I expected him basically in the top 5 because the track layout should fit him more, but the Friday was completely lost there. Yeah, and Jack Miller in the MotoGP as an Australian rider had a shitty weekend because he was on a Yamaha. All the Yamahas had a shitty weekends. Most of the other Yamaha riders choose some desperate tire choices like a hard front or a soft rear, which is like suicide. So yeah, Alex Rins was fighting with the Yamaha in the front of the race the first couple of laps, but that was just because he had a soft, and when the soft tire dropped, he dropped in the end. Jack was really close to the other Yamaha riders in the end, and then somehow he lost it, he crashed out. So difficult weekend for Jack. He will be happy to go home and have an Australian Phillip Island race in 2 weeks' time, where I'm hoping to see you all again. Thanks for listening. Have a good day. Bye everyone.